On GBC News, your news and governance channel. My name is Shirley Annan. The new Patriotic Party Regional Delegates Conference is underway today in the Northern, Northeast and Bono East. Other regions are scheduled for Saturday, May 28 and Sunday, May 29. The spotlight has been on the Ashanti, Eastern, Bono, Central and Greater Accra regions, where new entrants are seeking to unseat incumbents. Already, has been sought by some aggrieved persons in the Ekumfi constituency from a Cape Coast High Court to restrain organizers of the Central Region Conference from holding the elections. This has generated some anxiety, tension and fear among the candidates and party faithful. The outcome of the exercise is seen as crucial towards the party's resolve to break the record of 8-year rule. New Patriotic Party in the Central Region are moving to secure a Cape Coast High Court ruling to prevent the party in a Ekumfi constituency from organizing its Central Region Delegates Conference. A member of the party, Mr. Adumaku Befi, says they want the High Court to restrain the Electoral Committee and the Electoral Commission from going ahead with the Central Regional elections until the Ekumfi constituency elections is organized.
But for Chairman's unrelenting and forgiving attitude, constituency elections in the region were conducted without a Ekumfi constituency, rendering the people of Ekumfi a constituency without party executives, which is not natural and is not something that is a feature of MPP. This led to the applications securing court interlocutory injunction on the regional party election. Now, instead of our chairman to pay attention to resolving such an important issue that took hundreds of delegates into a role of frustration, he has rather, in a desperate and more reducing effort, run to media stations to do damage control of his failed leadership.
Still in news, the Ghana National Fire Service is to embark on a fire safety campaign to educate the public on fire safety and the need for all to comply with fire safety measures. A series of activities will be organized to create awareness on the hazards of fire. This year's campaign is on the theme Safer Environment, Key to Development. The Director of Public Affairs of the Ghana National Fire Service, Timothy Osafu Efum, and also the Assistant Director of Fire Safety, Mr. Michael Kosa, have joined us in the studio to tell us more about this campaign and tidbits on what to do in the event of fire. Good afternoon, gentlemen.
Good afternoon.
I forgot your titles, please forgive me.
Problem.
Now, why the choice of the theme for this year's fire safety campaign?
Right, thank you very much. I think 2 years of break after COVID, we need to get our acts together. And you realize a lot of people are complaining they've lost their jobs, etc., etc. And one thing that investors look for before they enter into a country is the safety of their investments. And therefore, the need for us to come up with this theme to ensure the investor that we are ready for them to protect their jobs.
So, safer environment, key to development. Sure. What does it mean?
So, what that means is that with the fire service in place, we give you a safer environment to operate from. Therefore, once you operate, it gives jobs and people are able to develop. And therefore, once they have the financial resources, it leads to development.
Now, Mr. Kosa, you being the Assistant Director of Safety, what are some of the campaign or activities lined up for this year?
Yes, on Monday there's going to be a lunch which will start at 9 o'clock in the morning. We would have a lot of dignitaries, including the Honorable Minister for the Interior as the special guest of honor. Then in the afternoon there's going to be a quiz competition between schools. 2 schools we have selected. They are cadets that were formed by us, and we are grooming them to become safety conscious, and we know capture them young, and they also help us propagate the message. And so they would have a competition with prizes. On Tuesday we would have a float through the principal streets in Accra.
It's a week-long activity.
It's a week-long activity.
Okay.
And Wednesday we'll have an inspection on selected public premises, inspect the premises, and maybe draw the attention of the proponents on the infractions.
Are there maybe employees or employers in this selected premise? Are they aware that you people are going to come around?
Some would be aware. For instance, if you want to visit the court complex, there are protocols you need to follow. So you need to inform certain key personalities. But others, we want them to be surprised, so that would have a real scenario where we'll be able to identify the real issues on the ground, so that we'll be able to draw their attention to it.
So in this case, what will you be looking at when you go to a premise to inspect? What do you inspect? Fire safety, or what do you call it?
Yes, by law, it talks about having adequate fire extinguishers, having adequate exits, and having adequate. So these 3 things we'll look at it, and as to whether
of fire outbreaks in most homes and public places?
Now, one thing is clear. The fact that we are educating doesn't mean fires will not. That can be prevented. Because in our daily activities, we use fire in ironing, in response to preventable. And those are the ones that our focus are on, so that we prevent the preventable ones. But those that will come anyway, when they come, we'll have to deal with them.
60%, does it come from domestic fires or other types of fires?
When our statistics indicate that on the average, we have 39% of all fires within the last 10 years being domestic incidents. And so if we are able to reduce this 39% by a further 20%, then we are helping, because these are where we lose people to fires. These are where we lose our properties, our lifelong properties to fires. These are where our daily breads are lost. So that is why we want to concentrate in these areas.
We lose our daily bread, we lose our properties. Are there any legalities to fires?
Yes, we have a legal regime which we operate with. Now, that legal regime, fortunately, has now been incorporated domestic homes initially, the law had to do with places of public congregation as well as public place of residential accommodation. But now we have individual private homes incorporated into the law. Now what is outstanding is that we need a partner, because we are supposed to provide the basic facilities for the public at a fee over a period. So that is why we are looking for a partner, and negotiations are ongoing. Once that is done, maybe we can roll out before the close of the year. What is the law? The law is LI 1724 as amended to LI 2249, fire regulations into bracket premises regulations.
Now, you spoke about, as part of your week-long celebration, going to maybe public places or these places of residence to check for safety and these things. What are some of the precautions to take when maybe at home or at a public place?
A public place, fires? Most often we inspect such facilities and we find out that a lot of people have overloaded their sockets and placed them on tables, which is combustibles. It's not as if they are so conscious. They do it unconsciously. So we draw the attention to it that, hey, these things you have summed them up. Does it commensurate with the strength of the extension cable? And we draw the attention, then they correct them. Some of them, they use microwaves, heat their phones, and they leave them unattended and all that. We find overloading and all that. All these things are done, and we draw the attention. So it's a daily activity, and making sure that people's consciousness level are heightened, so that they don't do, like my boss said, you know, fire, we live with fire. We need fire to survive. The office space, we need fire to iron, to cook and all that. And they say that fire is a good servant, but could be a bad master if not properly managed. It is only when you don't manage it well, it gets out of hand. So if you become conscious enough to know that what I am doing could start fire, you don't do it that way. So you need to have people and persons checking them and drawing their attention at all times. That is what we are doing. So
are these supposed to be lay people, or are supposed to come from your department?
We train people as wardens. Ideally, every premises that has this congregation must have wardens who are assigned with the role to checking this periodically. All right. There is a proverb in Akan that nipa mienu or that one thing. So it means that say if you assign two people to take care of that, all right, one would think that other have done, and at the end of the day, and eventually they will leave it outside. So if you assign it to a person, then yes, you are assured that that person would discharge his duties or her duties, and if he fails, he will be held responsible.
Very soon we are going to commemorate or remember the June 3 disaster, where there was a combination of two things that resulted in that disaster. Let's look at fires and floods. Are we safe with earth wires, maybe in floods, Mr.
Yes, what we have realized is that most of the domestic incidents that we record are as a result of improper earthing systems. Now, people ask, why is it that during raining seasons there are fires? Yeah. But from our statistics, we have a lot of domestic incidents during raining season. And it is, some of them are as a result of these improper earthing systems. Most of our homes are old. And ideally, every 10 years, you need to have an electrical engineer inspect your premises for you. And then ideally too, every 25 years, you need to change your wiring systems. So if these things are not done, then the probability that when the tender strikes, it will result in fire is high. So that is the reason.
No, so what do residents do? I mean, I'm renting. Do I, and you don't know how old the house is unless it's a new house you've moved into. Sure. Do I change wires when my landlady or landlord hasn't supervised?
Now, the law in place says that the owner or the occupier. So it is also incumbent on you, the occupier, to ensure that the right thing.
Finally, before you go, a general advice to residents, to people who go to public places about fire safety, well, on this issue?
Yes, to the general public, this is a time that we come to your premises, right to your homes. So we expect you to open your arms to receive us and receive the messages that we pass on to you. This may help you. If it doesn't help you, it will help your brother, your father, your mother. So open your arms to receive us. I also want to put across that in recent times, when emergency happened, a lot of people complained that they called the fire service and we were not picking. Not that we don't pick. What is happening is that on the average, we pick 22,000 to 24,000 prank calls every day. And so what happens is that those of you who really need our services, when you call, you come and queue in. And all these prank calls are picked before we get to you. And because it's an emergency, you don't have the patience to wait for us to pick you. And so my plea to the general public is that the fire service emergency lines are for emergency purposes. If you don't have any emergency, please don't call the emergency lines and make the lines free for those who need the services.
Okay, Mr. Kosa, any other
to
thing?
what he said earlier, I always, on the lighter note and on a serious note, say that our profession is always likened to the priesthood. All right? The priests, they deal with the Holy Ghost fire, and we deal with physical fire. All right? The priests rescue people from hellfire to safety, and we rescue people from danger to safety. So when you see a fireman, don't attack him.
Okay.
He's an angel sent to save you. And on that note, I would also I'll be careful in handling LPG, gas and all that. Please don't, if you see your gas leaking from the regulator, don't place stone on them. Replace them, and we'll all be safe.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. Thank you very much for coming to the studios of GBC News. We've been speaking to the Director of Public Affairs of the Ghana National Fire Service, Timothy Osafu Efum, and the Assistant Director of Safety, Mr. Michael Kosa. Once again, I apologize for not knowing your titles. You're still watching News Hour live on GBC News. The National Security Ministry is urging Ghanaians to desist from making prank calls to the 999 call center, as it undermines the ability of law enforcement agencies to effectively respond to actual crises. According to the ministry, the center has received more than 10,000 calls in the first 30 minutes following the launch of the See Something, Say Something campaign, majority of which were prank calls. The ministry assured the public of the activeness of the call center, and encouraged people to report all suspicious persons and activities. The statement further pledged the ministry's commitment to collaborate with all relevant agencies and stakeholders to safeguard the peace and security of the country. The See Something, Say Something campaign is a national security strategy aimed at encouraging citizens to report suspicious persons or activities to enable the state to respond swiftly to any potential terrorist attack. At the ongoing World Health Assembly in Geneva, Switzerland, the World Health Organization has enjoined all UN member states to implement the Global Health for Peace initiative. This is in recognition of the fact that inequitable and access to health infrastructure and healthcare interventions is one of the major drivers of conflicts. Conflicts in turn bring untold hardships and increase the spread and burden of infectious diseases, which compromise the health of the population, since conflicts are major obstacles to health and basic social services. Joining us via Zoom is the Executive Director of the National Population Council, Dr. Letitia Appiah, to enlighten us on how insecurity situations such as conflicts or wars can adversely impact the health of a population. The Geneva meeting more important now, given the emergence of multiple infectious diseases in many parts of the world. If she is on. Good afternoon, Doctor.
Good afternoon. Thanks for having me.
Thank you too for joining us. Now, how is unemployment among the youth and inequalities, for instance, an impediment to healthcare delivery in the world and particularly in Africa?
Yeah, thanks for the opportunity one more time. I think we really have to look at how employment, the role of employment in our life, help us to really see what unemployment is doing to us as a people. Employment gives you a daily purpose. It gives you the ability to take care of yourself, your needs, and that of your society, and helps you to contribute to societal development. It's really part of your mental health and your physical health. So that is what employment does. And so with unemployment, you cannot meet your needs, your food needs, your shelter needs. Then it even makes it difficult to meet your health needs. Even though NHIS is there for all of us, like I said initially, employment helps you to contribute to society. If you are employed, you can pay taxes, and then NHIS can take care of us. So employment really, it's a destabilizing factor, and it's really, for me, is at the root cause of instability in the sub-region. So unemployment is a really big thing. It does not only not empower you for health services, but for every other service, because employment will provide health, shelter, food, and a sense of pride, a sense of identity, a sense of daily purpose. But if you do not have that, then it's a challenge for all of us. Now, unemployment, it's really the root cause of our instability.
So you basically related unemployment to NHIS, and I'm asking that, is there a political will to increase healthcare spending, reduce out-of-pocket spending, and the cash and carry inequalities in our society?
You know, I think there should be a societal will and a governmental will and a political will to look at cost savings. We always talk about increasing expenditure, not about savings as part of economic income. You know, where can we save, for instance, from where I sit? Where can NHIS save? Where can our institutions save to make sure that we can improve our lot? Because money is not limitless. So if we talk about increasing expenditure, we talk about increasing expenditure in health, increasing expenditure in education, increasing expenditure in electricity, water, and all that. Where are we going to get the money from? But then there are some cost-saving activities to make sure that we save money and increase our expenditures in other places. So yes, we will look at increasing expenditure in this, but how long can it stretch? But we have to look at increased expenditure and then cost savings. Because some of the things we do, for me, are really hurting ourselves, cutting our nose to spite out. For instance, if we as a country will continue to live with child marriage and then get all the complications in medical complications, in addition to the economic actions we go through, and then we are increasing expenditure, for instance, for fistula repair, then I don't get it. But if we reduce child marriage, then we'll have savings in NHIS. We will not use money for fistula repair, but we'll use money to increase our health expenditure and likewise our well-being. You know, so even as we look at increasing expenditure, we should look at it vis-a-vis reducing savings in other places, because there's a lot of places we can save from. If we as a country, for instance, would buy into family planning, which I always advocate for, we will have a lot of savings even for NHIS, for education, for other places. But if we will not focus on that, then we'll always talk about increased expenditure in health, increased expenditure in education, which in my mind is really unsustainable.
Now, the theme for this year's World Health Assembly is Peace for Health and Health for Peace. Now, how does this sound to you, and how can we achieve this in Ghana? Peace for health and health for peace.
I think it can't be more right. It is so apt that health for peace. You know, nation is built by two main people: strong soldiers and healthy children. Strong soldiers and healthy children. These are the two groups of any sustainable nation. These are the two people nations. We have healthy soldiers to help us maintain the negative peace, that is with the arms when we go to war. And we have healthy children to help us maintain the positive peace which is internalized. And so health for peace is so apt. You can only be at peace when you are healthy. And you can only be healthy when you have healthy children. And you can only have healthy children when you empower women to have healthy children. When we continue to disempower women, they will have children who are restless, who would cause us mayhem, and then we will need the soldiers to maintain the negative peace. So for health is so apt. We have to look at both positive peace and negative peace. And the positive peace, like I said, is by healthy children. Negative peace is by soldiers. And so these two people make up national development. We cannot look at soldiers alone and not look at healthy children. Otherwise, they will be restless, they will grow up, and then they would get a lot of job for the soldiers to curtail. So health for peace, I think that this theme is so apt. They couldn't have had a better theme for that. Health for peace, peace for health is important. You cannot have peace without health. And you cannot have peace, you can also be healthy in an unpeaceful situation. And you cannot have health and peace without empowering women. That we have to really understand. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Dr. Letitia Apia is the Executive Director of the National Population Council, speaking to us about the World Health Assembly. You're still watching News Are Live on GBC News, your news and governance channel. Taking his turn at the World Health Assembly, the Minister for Health, Mr. Kweku Agyemang-Manu, affirmed Ghana's commitment to catastrophic health spending and inequalities regarding access to health interventions. He said failure of which could have dire impacts on health security.
We can harness the immense potential of the youth by equipping them with education and employable skills, leveraging on technology and public-private partnerships for job creation. This will help to reduce the burden of unemployment amongst the youth, which is a security threat. Health for peace starts with providing fair and accountable governance and social support systems to the people, creating equal opportunities for decent livelihoods for all, and ensuring adequate security of lives and property. Madam President, Ghana supports the theme for this year's Assembly, Peace for Health, Health for Peace. And comes the WHO's Global Health for Peace initiative, which envisions a theory of change based on equitable access to health services, health interventions that promote trust and dialogue, strives for universal health coverage, generates trust, and promotes peace and reconciliation. Recognizing that conflicts are a major obstacle to health, and that a lack of access to health and basic social services can lead to feelings of exclusion, which are major drivers of conflict and violence, there is therefore the need for a concerted effort at the highest level of government to promote global peace for health.
You're still live on GBC News, and this is News. The Director General in charge of Public Affairs at the Ghana Police Service, DCOP Kwesi, the IGP and his team have put forward a request to the families of Albert Donko, an indigene of Nkranza, who died in police custody after he was picked up on the 25th of April 2022, and Victor Kojousu, who also died during clashes between the police and the youth of Nkranza, to work with the police for an immediate post-mortem to complete the investigation. DCOP Kwesi was speaking to the media at a news conference in Nkranza.
At the meeting, DCOP Kwesi told the media that as part of the police administration's redefined communication strategy, they hold on till they have accurate information before going public in order not to interfere with the investigations. He said the police is going about its professional duty and must ensure that in all cases affected persons are informed statements are made public. DCOP Kwesi Fori spoke about what the police has done so far with investigations into the 2 deaths.
The regional police commander engaged the family, traditional authorities, opinion leaders, and the youth to exercise restraint as we look into the issue.
DCOP Kwesi Fori said ballistics experts have been deployed to Nkranza to assist in the investigation.
Following these attacks, the IGP dispatched a high-profile team led by the Director General in charge of administration to provide strategic leadership for the ongoing operation to restore law and order.
He said the 2 families will be key in the post-mortem.
IGP and his team put forward a request to the families to work with the police for the post-mortem on the bodies to be performed immediately to facilitate the completion of the investigations.
DCOP Kwesi Fori said the police administration's attention has been drawn to a photograph circulating on social media with a caption, "Albert Donko and his friends police officers in Nkranza."
We would like to urge members of the public to be circumspect in their commentaries on these matters and desist from taking advantage of the situation to man the peace and security at Nkranza and its environs.
The IGP and his team has met with all stakeholders and opinion leaders in Nkranza as part of his fact-finding mission to the area. The IGP has assured residents in the area that all the perpetrators will be brought to book. He charged residents, particularly to be circumspect in their commentary on the issues surrounding the death of Albert Donko and Victor Kojowusu.
Speaking on GTV Breakfast, a legal practitioner, Maurice Ampal, educates Ghanaians on what to put in a will to make it valid. A will is a document written by a living person stating his or her wishes to be executed after his or her death. The person may list all the assets and beneficiaries and show how such assets should be distributed. Mr. Maurice Ampal explains that a will is valid only under certain conditions, such as when the person making the will is bedridden or seriously sick.
A will can be valid when it is done in according to the ingredient that goes in. So 1, you should be bedridden, or if not bedridden, you should make sure that in those will orally and you are disposing of your self-acquired property. You cannot make a customary will and say that I give family land to my children, or I give stool land to my children, or I give the church, or I give state lands. You can't do that. 2, those you are mentioning should be identified. And then 3, the witnesses must be people who are not interested in your will, what you are giving out. They should be disinterested parties. So that, for example, if my father is about to die and he calls me alone and say, "Loyampa," he said, "Morris, come, I'm dying, I give my house and everything to you alone," who will believe it? So the moment my father calls me, he said, "Please find out whether there is the landlord or anybody out there or any member of the family. Go and bring that person because I want to say something." So you must always make the will in the presence of disinterested parties, people who have nothing to do with your property. And at times, even if you pick one family member or 2, because we want them to come and testify.
Preschool pupils in the Katsina and Nankana West districts of the Upper East region now have an early childhood development center with its ancillary facilities. The building has been inaugurated and handed over to the chiefs and people.
The 320,000 facility has adequate furniture and teaching and learning materials to accommodate 109 children. The building comes with a 4-seater KVIP and urinal to improve on the sanitation and personal hygiene of the pupils. A representative of Participatory Action for Rural Development Alternatives, PADA, Mr. Peter Asungre said it is the objective of PADA and Child Believe Ghana to provide quality education as a contribution for the advancement of the country's economy.
PADA believes that providing a comfortable learning environment for children is key to their academic and social advancement.
The country manager of Children Believe, Madame Esinam Ravi de Souza, urged parents to own the facility. She tasked parents to support their children's education to become good citizens.
The foundation of a child is critical to the overall outcome of the child's development.
The project was partnered by the Busa Kasina Nankana Area Child Development Program with sponsorship from Children Believe and implemented by Participatory Action for Rural Development Alternatives, PADA.
You have more news coming up, please stay.
Young women whose story
story, Unilever Ghana's performance for 2021 shows a 23% increase in revenue, 456 million cedis in 2020 to 559 million cedis in 2021. Giving an overview of Unilever's performance last year, the board chairman of the company, Mr. Edward Efa, said profit for 2021 stood at 2.8 million Ghana cedis.
Unilever Ghana is into the manufacturing of consumer goods. The company's segments include foods, home care and personal care. The foods division includes spreads, tea, savory, oils and health and wellness. The home care division comprises laundry and household care categories. The personal care division includes skin cleansing and oral categories. This year's annual general meeting was held virtually, with just a few members attending in person while others joined online. The board chairman of Unilever Ghana, Mr. Edward Ifa, said the spike in inflation from 7.5% in May 2021 to 23.6% in April 2022 is having a toll on operations of the company.
The global economy continues to recover slowly from the COVID-19 pandemic. The emergence of new variants increased uncertainties about when we'll return to normal. The pandemic resulted in supply chain disruptions and rising input prices, which have resulted in high inflation globally. For developing economies in particular, the worsening pandemic impact has resulted in the slowdown in growth projections.
The managing director of Unilever Ghana, Mr. George Owusu-Ansah, said cash and cash equivalent were in deficit of 26 million Ghana cedis in 2021, compared with a deficit position of 0.9 million Ghana cedis in 2020. This, according to Mr. Owusu, was largely due to efforts in securing foreign currency to service payables.
In spite of these global and health challenges, your company achieved the following against our 4 growth pillars. First, a top-line growth of 23%. We improved our profitability by 100% versus prior year. 38% of our portfolio gained shares, and we continued our work to make Ghana and the world healthier through our sustainability programs.
The company remains positive about the year 2022 and beyond. Shareholders voted to elect new directors and also approved remuneration for directors as well as independent auditors.
Now, 2,750 projects in the past 50 years, 1.5 million people connected to electricity in the past half a century. 50 million Africans granted access to transportation. That and more are the deliverables of the African Development Fund of the AFDB. The U.S. has thus pledged its commitments to the $3 billion fund in the future. The African Development Fund, the concessional lending arm of the African Development Bank, has invested some $9 billion over the last 5 years, up from an initial $327 million in 1976. The fund was ranked by the Center for Global Development in the U.S. as the second best in the world among all concessional financing institutions. Celebrating 50 years of the AFD's existence, President of the African Development Bank, Dr. Akiwumi Adishina, said the bank will continue to pay attention to the development component of its operations.
We decided at the African Development Bank that we have to give Africa a fighting chance. But Africa cannot develop in the dark. And so we have set ourselves a target to helping Africa to achieve universal access to electricity within 10 years. We want to connect 130 million people to the grid systems, connect about 75 million households also to the off-grid solar systems, and another 150 million people to access to clean cooking energy. You know, we use charcoal, we use fuel wood and all of that, but that is not clean cooking, that's energy scavenging, and you cannot do that. And so that's why the bank is investing in the energy sector at $12 billion over the next 5 years.
The US, Japan, Germany, and South Africa are major contributors to the fund. The US pledged its continuous support to the fund in the next 50 years. The African Development Fund has, in its existence, expanded economic opportunities to many Africans. Also in business, the president of the Association, Mr. Joseph Obeng, has been appointed vice president of the West African Nobles Forum in Accra.
Dr. Joseph Kweku Obeng was one of 3 individuals inducted into the West African Nobles Forum, WANF. WANF is composed of more than 3,000 personalities from various fields of work across the West African sub-region. It was set up in 2003 to promote the integrity, accountability, humility and excellence, as well as to drive for socio-economic integration of growth in Ghana and beyond. The newly inducted Vice President of WANF, Dr. Joseph Obeng, said the diverse intellectual capacities of various experts from diverse aspects of the economy provide a sound platform for the success of his tenure as Vice President.
I want to help push the West Africa Nobles Forum to a different level altogether. Because if you look at the human resources that we have, the personnel, the prominent people that we have, achievers, self-made people who have done tremendous work for the nation, means that we have to gather their resources, their brain, and make something like a think tank group to add up to the public discourse.
The West African Nobles Forum is a non-religious organization headquartered in Accra.
Let's go to the interbank Forex markets, where the cedi is now trading at 7 cedis to the US dollar, and the pound sterling going for 8 cedis 98 pesos. The euro is going at 7 cedis 66 pesos. The international news is after this break. Stay with us.